if you catch yourself in a heightened state of stress, all you have to do is take 7 minutes to reset. The 7 minutes is really a scientific number. It is how long it takes for you to be able to calm the mind and calm the body to find your centered self, not just to release emotion, because to release emotion can take 60 seconds, but to become completely calm and completely neutral. I refer to this as you as your most powerful self because you're not being influenced and you in that moment are in control. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to one belief that you have the power within to create everything you seek. So if you are ready to step into a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with me. I'm your host, Rudi Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins. I'm your host, and this is part 2 of an episode that Anniston and I recorded, and it was so good that we wanted to cut it down the middle and give you 30-minute segments, because we do believe that by pulling back the curtain and giving you very specific steps, very specific tools, and things that you can implement into your day, that if you were to receive them all in one go, you would lose some of the value in some of the exercises. And so instead, we decided what we wanted you to do is to listen and absorb the full breadth of some of the information, and then to give yourself a week to take this information and put it into practice. And then we go deeper and deeper and deeper. Unbeknownst to me, Anniston turned around in this episode and started asking me a series of questions, 5 questions overall, as to how do you live the most empowered life? What are simple tools, hacks, tips, and tricks that you can implement today? They're going to serve and support you in not only being the best version of yourself, the best leader, the best husband, wife, partner that you could possibly be, but also to show up to meet your highest and your greatest potential. And it all starts with you filling in you. And so, as they say, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so this episode really is going to go into even more layering the cake of exactly how you can show up to be your most empowered self, pouring into yourself, giving yourself all of the tools so that when you take actionable steps out and in the world, you're taking steps as the most empowered version of you. You walking, talking, thinking, feeling, acting, and ultimately making decisions from the end result of the person that you came here to be. This is the Empowered Life, and you're going to learn exactly how to be empowered. Coming up next.
Okay, let's move on with the next question. So you've woken up in the morning, you've created your energetic state with intention and with consciousness, and now you move into your day. Okay. How do you shift your emotional state when you notice you're off? Your emotions have shifted. What is something that you do that's your tried and true?
People often ask me what it is that I teach, and I teach state first, which is every single morning when you wake up, you need to curate how you want to feel. So we've covered that, but your question really sets up why. Why do we do that every single morning? And that is that you now know how to get back there later in the day. I know a whole bunch of humans, and humans are living a human experience, and human experience is messy. There's a lot of emotion. There's triggers, there's frustrations, there's setbacks, there's failures, there's failings forward, there's some wins. We get the win, and then we actually feel worse after the win because we thought it would make us feel a certain way, and then we didn't, and then we go into a deep hole. And so we have all these emotions as human beings. But, you actually said something really funny as I was preparing for my keynote last week, because just for the benefit of the audience, when I'm ever going to be doing something, I'm a projector, and the best way for me to create and curate is to speak out loud. So I'll say to Anniston, what about this? And I'll just talk, and she just sits and listens and listens and listens. And when I'd finished speaking, she said, I'd take a neutral person over a happy person any day of the week. And I actually brought that into my keynote training because she's so right. When you are neutral, calm, collected, you have the capacity to be calculated. You have the capacity to think with inspiration and intuition, and you have the ability to be creative. But the moment you're happy or sad or nervous or anxious or resentful or frustrated, your brain detaches, the left and right compartmentalize, and then you just go into a state of heightened stress. Your brain fires these impulses and you have erratic thoughts. And when you have erratic thoughts, you have erratic feelings because every thought produces a chemical, which is the emotion that goes into the body. And so when we have heightened levels of stress or anxiety or worry or overwhelm that come up in our day, because we all do, we do not ever navigate life without this. I love listening to highly successful people, celebrities, athletes, etc., talk about their lives because they so often speak into the highs and the lows, and they have what we deem success. They have everything. And yet they can say, like, gosh, here's the areas where they struggle, or here's what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But the most powerful person on the planet, in my opinion, is the person that is in control of their emotional state. I do a keynote training for companies called The Most Powerful Person in the Room. And that is the person that is void of heightened emotion, positive or negative, because our emotions influence how we think and feel and what we're going to do next. And so when you wake up in the morning and you breathe in and out, and 2 seconds longer out than in, and your mind is calm, and all of a sudden you're completely neutral. You're aware of what you've been thinking and feeling about. You've filed the different thoughts in different places, and you feel really good about being you. Maybe you've journaled affirming statements afterwards. You've stood in Superman pose, and all of these things have scientific backing behind them. But when you get dressed like, man, I am ready to live my best life. And you walk downstairs and you crush that first cup of coffee. You do your workout. You are so excited. The traffic doesn't get to you. You get to your office, and then there's an email waiting for you, and your day gets derailed. Well, it doesn't have to get derailed. You see, if you don't know how to get back to your centered self, your day will spiral because you will now collect new thoughts, new behaviors, all filtered through that problem. But if you catch yourself in a heightened state of stress, all you have to do is take 7 minutes to reset. I actually have a meditation on my website called the Presence Meditation, and you can download it, or I can just tell you right now for free exactly how to do it. It's for 7 minutes, setting a timer on your phone, breathing in and out, and focusing in on your heart and just becoming completely calm and completely neutral and paying attention to the heartbeat. If you just focus in on your heart and you allow your mind to focus on feeling your heart beating in your chest, and you connect to your heart, your centered self. And with every breath in and every breath out, you find yourself becoming more and more calm, and the alarm goes ding, and then you open your eyes. You've now created space from how you were feeling 7 minutes ago to how you're feeling now. I have clients that run billion-dollar brands that have high levels of stress. They need to react and respond, and they don't have time to wait. They will pause. They will let everyone leave a meeting. They'll take the 7 minutes to collect their thoughts, bring everybody back in, and it's a different leader that's taking the meeting over after the 7 minute mark. The 7 minutes is really a scientific number. It is how long it takes for you to be able to calm the mind and calm the body to find your centered self, not just to release emotion, because to release emotion can take 60 seconds, but to become completely calm and completely neutral. I refer to this as you as your most powerful self because you're not being influenced and you in that moment are in control. If you've never ever driven yourself home, you don't know how to get back there, then one day when you're lost and you don't have GPS, you don't have a phone, you don't have a friend that you can call or a way to find out, you're stuck. And so you're aimlessly walking around the streets trying to find your centered point. But when you've every single day started the same way, carefully, meticulously, you eventually will learn what that feels like to be completely in your mind and in your body. You used a phrase earlier that I want to call back to. You drop into your body. I'm going to tell you now, 98% of people on the planet have no idea what that means. They understand conceptually what it might mean, but to drop into your body is to know what it feels like in your body with your awareness of your mind without the heightened levels of emotion. And so the question's beautiful. Every day, take moments throughout your day to breathe in and out to bring yourself back to the feeling you created in the very beginning of the day.
It really is so powerful. And I will be perfectly honest. This was a challenge for me. I got really good at getting up in the morning and carving out that time. And man, I wouldn't leave my office until I felt like I was floating out of my office, until I was just so at peace, so excited for the day ahead, but also simultaneously neutral where before I had been charged. And then I would go about my day and things would happen. But in the name of, I don't have enough time or I'm too busy to take those 7 minutes, I would barrel right through and get to the very end of the day and then be disappointed in myself because I felt like I started so well and then it just snowballed. And having these tiny micro practices is, it will be the difference between you, again, creating a life that primarily feels like ease and flow and peace versus one that primarily feels like stress and strain and all of the things. And this actually leads me to the next question that I have for you. As you work primarily with high level business leaders, owners, as well as teams, how do you specifically stay embodied? And when I say embodied, I mean stay in your center, right? Remain calm and neutral and stable when you're under pressure to perform or produce.
I want to ground for the audience that at no point did Anniston come to me before we recorded
Nope.
this and say, I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. And so this is really me being put on the spot. But the questions are really powerful. And I think it's layering the deepening of the understanding of why we need to do this exercise. First things first, we're energetic beings. And the moment you walk into a new space, you're being influenced and manipulated, essentially, without awareness, you're being manipulated by the energy in that space. When I say you're being manipulated by the energy in the space, it means that the people you're speaking to, the collective energy of the people that shared that space before, the things that inhabit or co-inhabit that space have a frequency, and you walk in, well, your energy starts to be altered by that energy. Everything is moving particles of energy. And so the difference between the floor and the wall is the frequency of how fast it vibrates and what is the space between each of the atoms, essentially. I simplify, but you get the point. And so when I walk into a room and there is pressure in the room, or somebody is putting pressure on me, it's always coming from a state where they are out of their regulated selves. And so that information in their physical body is being transferred and deflected onto me. And without awareness, it will manipulate me. So the example of this would be if I am walking into a room and I'm unaware of how I feel or who I am, and I mean at the core, who I am, not just my name is Rudi and I'm here to do a job. But if I know who I am and how I feel and what my purpose is, and I walk into a room and I start to feel my energy is shifting, you feel your energy shifting, not because you have awareness to the energy in the room. Few people have that. It's possible, but few people master the ability to pay attention to the energy in the room. But everyone can pay attention to how they feel. And when your emotions are shifting, that's you being influenced. So let me ground this in the most simplistic way. If you've ever been in a relationship, long-term relationship where you've lived with someone, have you walked into the kitchen and they've been in a mood and that mood immediately impacted you? It's exactly the same way when you need to perform in a work environment and somebody else's expectations are being literally forced on you. But if you were aware that you walked into the kitchen in a good mood, excited, eager, open, and then all of a sudden you feel nervous and anxious and frustrated, you can feel the energy literally being sucked out of the room. That's your energy being depleted through the people that you're in communication with. And so, would it not serve you to know how you felt before you walked into the room? Now, I'm going to take this up a level because I'm a high performance coach. I teach high performance skills. I'm trying to support people to master themselves. And the only way to master yourself is to know thyself. Now, that sounds like a guy sitting on the top of a hill in a Tibetan mountain rock somewhere. And I just mean you need to know who the hell you are. You need to know what it feels like to be you. You need to know what is your intention before you walk into a room. So before I walk into a room of 500 people or 1,000 people or 5,000 people to speak, I'm aware when I walk in that room, my energy will be influenced. When they're all clapping and, oh my gosh, we're so excited for you, it's going to influence me. I don't want to be manipulated and or influenced by the energy. So I curate who am I when I wake up first thing in the morning? What do I have on my calendar today? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And line by line, hour by hour, I will actually curate how I want to feel when I walk into that room or that phone call or that Zoom video session and how I want it to end. And I'm creating an energetic map, a roadmap for myself for my day. So let's do this really simplistically. Let's say you have a quiet Saturday and you're listening to this Saturday morning, and the only thing on your calendar today is that you want to read at some point today because that's rejuvenating for you. You maybe have one of your kids' sporting events that you want to go and support your child while they run around flag football or soccer. And then tonight, you want to take your partner out on a date. Okay, that's a busy Saturday. Could you, in the very beginning of your day, go into your mind and through the process of visual preparing for the day, could you imagine you sitting on the couch and reading and just feeling calm and rested and rejuvenated? And then see yourself close that book, the mental rehearsal of actually shutting the book and thinking, gosh, what a great read. I've gained so much value. It's changing so much. I got the answer to what I was thinking of in the midst of reading. And then you put the book down. And then you move forward in your day. And then you see yourself at the sporting event. And you're not on your phone. You're not talking to somebody else. You're focused on your child. Your child runs, scores the goal, throws the touchdown, catches the ball. And in that, they look at you and they make eye contact with you. And their face lights up because you're present. And you're clapping and screaming and you're like, that's my kid, that's my kid. Could you create that in your mind? And then could you go onto your date, pull out the chair for your partner, order something beautiful, have an incredible conversation, walk out the restaurant and make out in the car like a teenager? Could you imagine what that would feel like? And that's literally just going in and rehearsing the day. The same applies if you're going into a meeting. How do you want the meeting to go? How do you want people to respond? How do you want to feel? And that is literally energetically anchoring, forecasting, and pre-mapping the day before you start the day. So your body already has been entrained on how to do it. All you have to do now is get off the couch and greet your day.
I love that you brought that into your answer. It wasn't what I was fully anticipating you to say, but I was just thinking back to when we started like micro intending. And it was way back when we were working in Cincinnati and working in your business. And before we would leave the house, before we would get in the car and set a micro intention, visualizing how the drive was going to go and how easy it was going to be and how the traffic would flow. And it's insane how powerful of creator beings we are. But if you're waiting to intend till you arrive, you're too late. You've got to get into the habit. And so we do it in the morning. I do an exercise where I similarly will write out all the things in my day as if I'm making a gratitude list. And I'll say, thank you, thank you, thank you for the incredible transformational coaching call with my client. Thank you, thank you, thank you for a high vibe morning with the kids on a Monday when sometimes that cannot be as much fun getting them ready for school and it's really amazing how your brain will start to look for evidence of what you've intended. That's what you're focusing on. Thus, through expectation, that's what you experience. I have a couple more questions. I'm just really allowing my intuition to guide this, and I keep hearing this question in my head. And the question is, as a high-level leader who is constantly put into positions having to make very important decisions that can make or break their company, and that will absolutely impact people's lives. How do you do that and know that you're making the right decision? What's your process?
I'm going to come back to the foundational work and then I'm going to answer your question. If you haven't first connected to what you feel like, you're not qualified to make a decision. And I fully believe that with every fiber of my being. If you don't know who you are, your centered self, meaning you without emotion, you're not happy, you're not nervous, you're not anxious, you're just completely calm. You're kind of like, let's use the word content, that in that moment, you're just like, you're present in your mind and you're present in your body. You need to know what that feels like. When you know what that feels like, and later in your day, you have to make a decision that is potentially going to impact your entire company, every employee, maybe your client, maybe your marriage, maybe your kids, and you know that you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders in making this decision, The only way that you can make a decision is if you're able to get back to a place where you feel completely calm and neutral, so you have no outside influence. You're not thinking about, is this right? Is this wrong? Oh, if I get this wrong, that's going to be bad. You just in that moment bring yourself back to calm. Then I ask the question, what is the right decision? What should I do? And I allow my mind and my body to try on the answer. Now, I want to qualify what I just said. When I try on the answer, I actually feel the end result of that. Do I move my whole company software from this to this, knowing it's going to impact everything? And then I feel into the answer. But if I'm calm and neutral and I ask the question and all of a sudden it feels like it's expansive, like it feels exciting, it feels like there's a lot of space, then I know I'm making the best decision. And people say to me, oh, but how do you know that that's what that feels like? I'm like, well, ask another question and you will feel your body being restrictive. And so if you think about making a decision, what's right or wrong, I want to give an example. Over the holidays, I got a call from a client who needed to separate from a long-term employee that had partnership potential inside their business. And it was a very, very, very difficult decision from them. And they were saying, what's the right decision? Like, what do we do? Here's how I feel. Here's what's happening. Here's what we think we need to do. What's the right decision? Well, I'm never going to make a decision for you. That's not my job. But what I did say was, what I want you to do is breathe in, breathe out, get them to a place of complete neutrality. And then I said, what does it feel like for them to stay? And then they connected to that. And then I said, now detach from that. Now, what does it feel like for you to have this conversation and for them to go? Try that on. What does that feel like? And they didn't know what I was going to ask next. So here they are trying on each one of these outcomes. And then when I said, okay, now open your eyes, look at me. And they looked at me and I said, what did it feel like the first one in your body? And they immediately said, like stress, like I got nervous about it. And I said, okay, what did the second one feel like? And they said, I felt kind of like at ease, like grateful. Like, he's like, is that bad? I felt grateful. And I'm like, no, that's your answer. So you have to pay attention to what does it feel like in your body in order to make the decision. I'm going to say something that is going to sound crazy to so many people, but your body already knows. Your body already knows ahead of you what's going to happen. The same way that animals and dogs, as an example, are able to predict a catastrophic event prior to the event happening. There are stories of dogs pulling kids out of houses before they catch on fire, long before the fire starts. Dogs dragging people out of a restaurant before a bomb goes off. Like all kinds of stories of these major events. There is information in the energy around us, and our body knows how to read that information, but our mind gets in the way. But if you're calm and you're neutral and you try on which is right or wrong, you will feel it, but you have to be calm first.
That is so good. And I love how simple it is because it isn't meant to be complicated. Our bodies are the most advanced technology known to man. They really are. We just haven't learned quite yet how to use this technology. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a new iPhone and I still don't fully understand its full functionality and how to use it. And then Rudi is always informing me of like, oh, you could do this and you could do that. And I'm like, I had no idea. Literally, I had no idea. I'm so basic when it comes to my technology. And sometimes we're so basic when it comes to our bodies. And Rudi and I are really committed to mastering that and to allowing our bodies to be the partners that they are, the informers, the informants that they are, and to be self-guided. You will never, I'm looking at this logo behind your head, Rudi, the empowered life. Like that is key. You cannot just trust your mind and live an empowered life because your mind was never meant to be the master. It was meant to be the servant. It was meant to be the executor, whereas your heart, which is AKA in your body, is your guide, and where you're getting your wisdom and you're getting those intuitive hits that will save you time, save you money, lead you the shortest possible route of least resistance. So I love the simplicity of that. Okay, final question. How do you stay consistent? So we've been talking about all these embodiment practices. So let's just put ourselves into the seat of someone who's listened to this whole episode and is like, okay, so now I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to do this. How do you stay consistent with embodiment practices instead of falling off?
I'm going to answer your question in a way that I don't and I think the audience is going to anticipate my response. I know who I am and who I've come here to become. And I think that our lives, all of our lives, are about the unfoldment of our journey to becoming who we came here to be. We can call it anything, becoming self realized or actualized or embodying our full potential or just eventually achieving the goal that we have. I know that my goal is to create the greatest impact, and I want to impact billions of people, not tens of people, not hundreds of people, not thousands, billions of people. And I have come here to do something really big and profound in the world. And so every decision that I make every single day is filtered through how am I going to be best prepared to be that? What I want you to do as you hear these words of our episode as we come to a close is you need to have a vision for your life. And our next episode is speaking into purely about vision. And what is your vision? Are you committed to that vision? Because you need to know every single day who you are. Are you a great husband or wife? Do you want to have the best relationship or marriage that you can? Are you a phenomenal father, a phenomenal mother? Are you present? And if you're making those decisions, okay, you're committed to being the best, most present partner and parent, then what needs to happen in order to do that? Well, I already know that if I don't wake up in the morning every single day and find my calm, centered self by breathing in and breathing out 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, depending on what's happening in my day or my world, then everything else that's going to happen in my day is going to be a knock-on effect, and it's going to be moving me away from what is my end goal. I have a long-term goal for my life, which is to impact 8 billion lives. I have a short-term goal of impacting everybody that is in front of me. That is a video screen, Zoom call, phone call, relationship, parenting relationship, loving relationship, friendship, client relationship. And so every interaction I have, I speak into all the time that if you haven't calmed and curated yourself, you're not connected to your passion, to your purpose, to who you are. When you walk into the gas station, you're not going to make eye contact. You're not going to read the name tag. You're not going to be friendly. You're going to drop the money down on the counter. You're going to turn around and walk out. And you left the room making somebody else feel like they're not good enough and they're not worthy. But in every moment, when you are remembering who you are because you've done the work, because you've curated your emotional state, now you remember as you move throughout your day, the reason you wake up and do these extra tasks, because God knows everybody wants to sleep in, everybody wants to take a day off, everybody wants to put their feet up, everybody feels like they've deserved the extra drink, the extra sleep in, the extra excuse. And the reason I do it is because my life isn't about me. My life is truly about impacting the people that are around me. Now, that's self-centered as well, because when I do that, I'm going to be the most happy, joyful, and fulfilled person that I know. But I'm doing it to create an impact. And it can sound like this impossible standard, like that's bullshit. No one's ever going to reach that. And he just says that because it sounds good. I legitimately live this every single day. Anniston, you live this every single day. We wake up, we go to separate spaces, we curate ourselves first. Then we come together as a husband and wife. Then we come together as parents. Then we come together for our clients. And so the most important thing that you can do is to truly know who you want to be and then follow it up with very specific, actionable steps that are going to take you there. I'm going to close out today's episode by saying thank you to my beautiful wife, who is an absolute genius. I love the questions that you asked. I love how it came out. And I also love the episode that we're wanting to record next, because we just had 2 titles for these 2 episodes. And I'm going to challenge you to listen in to next week's episode, where we're going to take this and we're actually going to turn it around and put it back on you. So not so much us doing the talking and the teaching and giving you the big picture. We're actually just going to take you, your life, and break it apart and say, hey, what are you doing? Is this working? Where could you create changes? Here's how you can create the changes. And at the end of the day, if you look at everything that you've been doing, or if Anniston or I were to sit on the wall like a fly and watch you, observe you for a week or 2 or 3, we could predict your future. Because what you do today and how you do it today is literally creating the version of who you're going to be tomorrow. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope that it not only gave you some actionable steps that you can implement into your life as early as today, 7 minutes when you lose emotional state, tomorrow morning curating how you want to feel, and then forecasting and mapping every single moment you're going to have so you can have these little micro intentions for what your day is going to look like, what it's going to feel like. And when you do this for a short amount of time, the number is 66 days, you can have miracles in your life. Your world will be different. You will be different. How you feel will be different. And then you're going to walk around saying, gosh, I didn't realize life could get this good. You are worthy of the life that you seek. It can get that good, but no one's going to give it to you. You've got to go out and take it for yourselves. Until next week, I love you so much, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast. Goodbye, everybody. If this episode gave you clarity, peace, or a perspective shift, hold on to that. And here is how you lock it in. Subscribe so that you keep building momentum week after week. And if you're the kind of person that believes a good message should travel, please leave a review. Reviews aren't just ratings. They're signals that help this reach the people who are ready for it. And then share this episode with somebody you love, someone you lead, or somebody that you were rooting for. Links are in the show notes so that you can connect with me online and on Instagram. Now go out there and take one beautiful, bold, and aligned step and make it count. I'm going to catch you on the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast.